to kick off the hype train for me.
It would be my pleasure, man. And the top hero and his new team, Team Envious. This is Polt.
Already hearing some cheers out from
they're
that
starting to fill out
crowd
there,
here early in the day here in Tour.
And in the bottom right from AT Gaming, this, the Dutch Terran, is Uthermal. I'm also a sub to his stream. Actually, sub to both these guys. I love my Terran players.
Uthermal's got some good emotes.
Yeah, he does.
He's very good at commentary.
I get to spam, what do you call it? The Mario's little face there in chats now because
I like his feels good man emotes and such. He makes proficient use of memes, and also just all of his aggressive play is so fun to watch. You tune in, you watch a guy like Uthermal play, you see how he brings it out in tournaments. His aggressive play was the hallmark of his success when he played at DreamHack Leipzig. We haven't seen that same, big upness, but I feel like that still is something that shouldn't be too bad if Polt is not in top form. We talk about the monster that Polt has always been. He's a nightmare for everyone in these tournaments that he competes in. But as of late, it has been Hydra that people have been much more concerned about in these, in the WCS circuit.
A lot of people still favoring Hydra to be the winner of this entire tournament, but that is more down the line here. We've seen Polt going for a quicker factory here after that single barracks, and both players going to get a good look at see what's going on. Both players doing pretty much the same thing. Small differences, kind of different gas timings.
So, you open with the quick gas into Reaper with the fast factory, and the general premise of this build is that if your opponent is going for something like a one Reaper expand into a reactor, you're not going to have units to just deal with early double Reaper Hellion pressure. A lot of Terran players will just die against it. But it's also a phenomenal opening against any sort of cheese. If you're getting Proxy 2X, Proxy 3X Marine, or if it's Reapers, whatever it is, opening gas first, Reaper into Hellion, into usually Banshee, maybe Viking or Raven if you're a little bit worried, will deal with pretty much any sort of one-base cheese play.
And first blood has been drawn with the SCV of Uthermal, being taken out there by Polt's Reaper, and he just pulls that Reaper back, going back into the main, starting to get Hellion production up. Both players still doing the exact same thing. Quick starport with the Hellions, and this is very, very standard in TvT.
Yep, I wouldn't be surprised if both players with the Tech Labs going up for potentially that starport to go right away into a Cloak Banshee. That's the most popular opening if you're facing this on ladder. However, for tournament play, Polt, expecting to maybe be the defender in this series against Marthermal's aggression, is most likely going to open up with a Raven, unless he's really feeling, that he wants to go toe-to-toe with the aggression, which may be where he falls apart.
So already looks like Uthermal being slightly more defensive, getting that Cyclone out instead, and Polt going for Cloak Sheath. So that's actually a good move from Uthermal for that early game.
All right, so the Cyclone, that tells me that he probably wants to float the starport onto the Tech Lab and just build a Raven then as well. He could open with a Viking and then go into Raven, but seeing how it's just idling there, I'm imagining he's waiting for the Raven. So Raven Cyclone basically means I don't need to build an engineering bay or any missile turret.
Yeah,
so that's
all you need.
That's a solid 200, 300, 400 minerals, and we're looking at possibly a much faster third command center just off the back of using this gas instead to defend a Banshee attack.
Yeah, quite true. There's that Cyclone showing Polt what's up there with a little bit of scuffle in the front of Uthermal's natural. He gets his natural up there. And of course, Cloak Banshees is a big investment. That's a lot of gas. Yep. And he's seen that Banshee, seen that Cyclone, but he's committed to making the Banshee at this point. Yeah. He's invested in the tech. He even has a second Banshee on the way here, so sending that across the map.
You need to be so careful in these scenarios. That Reaper's going to run into the main base. The Cyclone gets a bit of damage, but if that Cyclone gets into a fight one-on-one against the Banshee can win. That Cyclones are very weak in terms of hit points, so you need to be super, super cautious. That Siege Tank also needs to come out to help push these Hellions back. And
a nice little move there from Polt. He does actually delay that second CC there by Uthermal, like killing the SCV there. Loses one with Hellion for his trouble, but that's still a very quite a heavy delay, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Barracks is going to switch onto the Tech Lab so that he can boot up Stim. Starport, maybe you could get a Viking out, but the Cyclone should be enough to deal with any sort of Banshee play, which, by the way, it doesn't seem to have really kicked off yet. Where is the Banshee? Is it just idling outside the base somewhere?
He may be waiting for a couple so he can hit two places at once. That can circumnavigate the Cyclones for sure.
Try to abuse the fact that there isn't any static defense, right? Pull the Cyclone to one side, maybe run with a second Banshee in the other. Yeah. Either way, it's still giving Uthermal more time to prepare and consider what his opponent could be throwing at him.
Scan there from Uthermal, sees exactly what's up in Polt's main, sends a Hellion up into the natural. See that Polt actually got his CC before Uthermal, even though he made it later because of that delay there with his Hellion run by. It's a nice little move there from Polt. And yeah, he's just waiting for that extra Banshee, and Uthermal is still making that Engie Bay.
Actually, I just don't like it. I mean, this is just giving Uthermal so much breathing room to focus on his macro, to try not to get supply blocked, to bolster his forces.
Yeah.
And all things said and done, it's not that there's a huge advantage for either side, but the investment that Uthermal made, it's like, technically, did he get as much value out of it himself since he didn't really need to defend? You know, that's kind of a question you can kind of answer yourself. But I will say that his stim is much faster because he didn't use his tech lab research and cloak and getting 2 Banshees. He went straight for stim. So if he makes an early bio push, he's going to have access to that. And we all know how important stim is. It turns Marines into a whole other unit, Maynard.
Exactly. And I mean, he made the Engie Bay, but he hasn't actually made any turrets yet. So the Raven actually saw that Banshee go into the main. We got a second one in the natural, already doing damage to some Marines and killing a couple SCVs as well. And there it is in the main, and Polt just wins. Uthermal just leaves. Game 1 in the books. Wow.
So Polt with a very fast game number 1 victory. Maynard, now, you know, so
with the lack of turrets, I guess.
I mean, he had the Raven. Maybe it was the Cyclone that moved out onto the other side of the map, but just recognizing, I think it was pretty much that he hit so late. I feel like that's kind of like I think like he's like tilted, you know? That's kind of like the feeling I get is you're like sitting there, you're like, okay, I have this early defensive setup against Cloak Banshee. Then from Uthermal's perspective, I can see why he would feel that he's behind, but I think, you know, in a tournament like this, a lot of other players would have tried to drag it out quite a bit more.
Yeah, it's his choice. And in the bottom left here, winning that game 1 very convincingly, it is Polt. A lot of fans out there in the crowd, and rightfully so. He is a legend of the game, a titan of the Terran race. And in the bottom left spawn here, this is Uthermal. Also got a lot of fans. I think people just want to see some good StarCraft today, and they're going to get that for sure.
Oh yeah, there's so many great series coming up, especially. I mean, we already talked about it. I'm super hyped for Neeb Hydra. That's
it's hard not to be.
That's going to be probably. I'm hoping that's like the best series of the day. See my boy Neeb. But
gasless here from Polt.
Yeah, so Invader, right? 4-player map. You can't spawn cross, but it does mean that since you don't know immediately where your opponent is, if you try to pull something a little bit more on the aggressive side and your opponent, you know, SCV scouts a little bit later or doesn't SCV scout, you have a very hard time scouting with threat to. And Polt is actually opening up gasless. And for Terran versus Terran, that's a super risky thing to do. Because he's also just hoping that, so, well, maybe if Uthermal doesn't do some sort of super fast 1-base attack, I should be able to get up defenses that I need.
He is the kind of Terran that likes to do super fast 1-base attacks, but at this stage is kind of looking quite quiet here from Uthermal. He got both his gases.
Yeah, but I feel like this early, it just allows him to get a crazy fast factory. Like, there's a couple of different things he could do with this. It could be a really fast single medevac tank drop with 8 or so Marines behind it. It could be really fast Cloak Banshee, but I don't think Cloak Banshee is a game ender against Polt this quickly. So I'm feeling more like I feel like it's got to be some sort of Marine tank, maybe, because even fast Liberator is really easy to stop if you just get out a Cyclone or you scout it.
With the close air and a couple of usable cliffs, tank play and fast drops in this map, very, very effective in TvT. TV, anything really. A lot of drops in this map will work out quite well for Terrans.
The air rush distance is so
tiny.
Short. You know, the ground rush distance didn't used to be that bad for these spawns, but they changed the map and got rid of the bridges in the center positions, and it just, you know, they did that to make the third easier to defend, but at the same time, they also like doubled the rush distance because you have to go all the way around the very center of the map to scout that bottom left spot, but also, you know, of course, your army's going to move quite slowly there too. So Uthermal, 2 Marines at a time, getting a Hellion, so maybe just a really fast, like 3 Hellion attack with 6 Marine drop, which can still be very difficult to deal with Polt's opening.
And Polt's keeping an eye out for that second CC, which he hasn't seen yet, so a little bit of a dangerous time for Polt as he starts to unveil what Uthermal is doing here. And at the point, I mean, Uthermal, what he's doing isn't super scary, but he's definitely going to have a lot more units. And if he opts for drop play, he's going to do all right. Polt does have a bunker in the natural, though, so he's definitely going to want to try an air attack.
I love that he didn't show the SCV in the natural. Polt not allowing Uthermal to know that he's aware of the natural expansion is super big, because if he doesn't lose his SCV, Polt, he just needs to commit to defending. He doesn't have to move any forces out of his base. It's like, well, if my opponent's on 1 base and I'm on 2, there's really no reason for me to do anything other than just macro up, defend, get upgrades, and then slowly push out. Whereas Euthermal, the clock is ticking on him. You know, if he doesn't get the economy up, he's not going to be able to defeat a Polt that has a full 2 base saturation.
That's right. Euthermal's obviously starport's done, medevac across the map, and Polt's just starting his starport. So he doesn't. We got the Euthermal actually making a Viking as well for counter drop defense. And Polt here gets a tech lab and makes a cyclone straight away. Smart play, but this medevac is going to hit before it comes out. So
yep,
the attack has begun.
That's right. These Marines are going to unload. Now, that medevac is going to make it very difficult for Polt's Marines to win a straight-up fight, as that healing is so crucial. He just needs all of his forces to fight together. The 2 Hellions run by now as well. Breaking his supply depot down could be opening up for a big push.
And it will. The front door is open, and in comes Euthermal with a lot of splash damage here and healing Marines. And they are lining up a little bit for him here. He's losing a fair bit of the Marines. The Cyclone's out, though. Yeah,
the Cyclone helping to pick off those forces, but once that gets taken down, you can do some fancy pants Drive Micro against the lock-on. Keep in mind that Cyclone has very low hit points as well.
Mass repair here for the SCVs of Polt. The Cyclone is going to live. The Vikings out as well, and Euthermal deflected. He does get 10 SCV kills, though.
But is it enough, Maynard? He's just now starting his natural. The SCV of Polt sees it. He's already going over, trying to tag him, beating him up, building that command center. But Polt, he's still ahead in workers. He still has double mule.
Yeah,
very important to keep in mind.
Because he had a quicker economy, he just evened the playing field, kind of. Like, they had equal SCVs before he head back home, but Polt's been producing. He hasn't stopped here. And now he's got a tank with a tank and a Cyclone. He's very safe in the main.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is even though he killed SCVs, he didn't kill enough that Polt was trying to recover. Polt is now just once again getting ahead in economy because he's still ahead in workers, he's still ahead in mules, and just having access to being able to split his SCVs across 2 expansions means both bases are going to last a little bit longer mining-wise. Euthermal's main should mine out way before Polt.
No add-ons here on the starport for Polt. Euthermal getting that Raven just in case. Helps out against those Banshees, helps out a couple things.
Another thing was that Euthermal also built a really fast engineering bay missile turret. He could have expanded earlier behind this, but it seemed that he was also concerned about the possibility of being hit by that fast Banshee again, like in the last game.
Yeah, he doesn't want to end the game like it happened in game 1, absolutely not. And there's a drop here coming from Polt, and it is heading towards a Widowbite.
No, the medevac can survive, but...
Yeah, but that's definitely doesn't want to dive in there.
Now you want to get out of there. 1 Viking shot, that would have been a quick tap in right there.
That's right. 1 in the chest and 1 in the head.
Yeah, that's gotta make sure they don't get back up. And now this drop is gonna come back home, can be repaired. So Euthermal, he's got his natural now. The orbital command is finishing up. He's getting a couple of extra barracks. They're just now starting. I believe Polt is finishing up some of his extra barracks. So with a couple of Vikings coming in, the very close stim timings, he's going to be set up with 5 racks, it looks like, and that's a very nice amount of production. As you can see, the buildings are kind of laid out awkwardly. Invader is probably one of the smallest main bases that we've ever gotten on a StarCraft map. Makes it very awkward to position your infrastructure.
It is quite awkward, and we can see that the mains are full at this point. There's not a super... I mean, there's room for 1 more barracks there for Euthermal at the bottom, and another one up there at the top right. But, you know, he's kicking into 5 racks as well. Both players going for the heavy bio production, single factory, single starport, and kicking in with their bio upgrades as well, married up with their +1 and stim timings. Yep,
the biggest things that we're going to have to be looking for in this game, moving forward, it's all going to come down to the medevacs, the siege tank micro. As Artosis would call them, the medanks will need to be controlled with the utmost of fancy pants micro. This Marine's going to try to push back that Viking and Raven. And the Vikings that are out on the field will be instrumental in trying to gain ground against the tank evac pushes, those slow crawls. And of course, because of the way that the spawns are laid out, if you lose a big fight, man, Doom Drop in your base on that production, GG.
GG. Doom Drops have spelled the doom, as per their name, for many Terran players. And speaking of Doom Drops, Euthermal going for almost 2 full medevacs of Marines and double tanks in the 3rd one.
This is a very forward push by Euthermal. Look at that, 2 tanks sitting in Polt's base. Don't do it.
I don't know.
Don't go.
Yeah, this is going to not go well for him. The Cyclone's going to touch up the medevacs. And
you scan that as a Terran player, and you were like, no, thank you.
And it looks like he has a lag spike. Just like he's very frank. But anyway.
Yeah.
We're back into it.
I thought his name was Igans. We're loaded back in. The medevac's are going to move their way towards the south Zelnaga Watchtower. But you mentioned this earlier. Those upgrades are merry. The 1-1, the +1 attack is going to finish with both players at the same time. Those upgrades are super important. 2 Marines, 1v1 at the tower. Uthermal does take that one. So really, TvT, it's all about the positioning. The biggest key to success is to just drop where your opponent is not.
Whoa, an even scarier doom drop here by Polt heading across to Uthermal's main. This is going to get weird.
This could actually just be a super awkward base trade. Look at this, the Vikings pick this off, and if he doesn't see this, he's gonna be trying to attack with 3 medevacs versus 5 already in his base. This could just be a quick bop for Polt if Uthermal doesn't pull some fancy pants moves real soon.
Oh no, he's dropping outside. He's delaying this. This is actually going to be really bad for Uthermal here.
Go.
And there's the doom drop in his main, and Polt is in an incredible position here. Everything's sieged up. Uthermal pushing through the natural of Polt at the same time doing damage, but there is so much more for Polt here in the main of the Dutch Terran.
Yeah.
He's taking a lot of shells here from the siege tanks to Uthermal. Uthermal siege tanks not getting picked, just getting picked up there and saved this last second.
And those Vikings from Polt make it impossible to move the siege tanks back. The medevac's very low on hit points. The tanks, they are on the production.
How does he stop this?
Of Uthermal. Polt is losing his natural, but he still has his barracks. He can still rally Marines inside towards his command center and prepare a last-ditch effort defense. He's lost his factory. He's losing his starport. Half of his barracks are dead.
Oh, this is pretty much the nail in the coffin here for Uthermal. He doesn't have much left at all, and Polt has so much at home still because his production is untouched. I mean, he's lost 2 barracks out the front, but he's still got his factory. He's still got several of his barracks there. There's the mule there, and GG. Polt. Wow, 2-0 already in a series that we thought would be
uncontested. That is not fun. That's not fun.
It was just a shame that he was sending less dropships across the map. Whoa. It was just a shame that he was sending less medevacs across the map at the right time.
VR headset. You're gonna be all over the place now.
Yeah, we'll give you a second to recover here as we introduce these players. In the top spawn here of Dust Towers, it is Polt on match point already.
Very... I can't say it's been like a super crazy convincing performance, but it's been good.
Yeah, it's been good enough. He's up 2 maps against this guy. This is AT Gaming's Uthermal. Now, TvT is the kind of matchup where, you know, people are like, wow, these games haven't been close, but it is the matchup where you can just be like, I've won now because of what's happened.
TvT is the most volatile, in my opinion, matchup for Terran right now. Like, this is, you know, Reapers are really, really good. We're seeing a 2x Reaper proxy build here by Uthermal. Polt SCV scouting, it's just smart play, but when you're playing Terran versus Terran, Reapers are so much stronger, like I said. You have to worry about early tank pushes more because of the medevac drop ability. And obviously, siege tank drops in the mid and late game are still, they're pretty much all of the matchups about. You know, you don't see strategies like mech anymore. You can't really contest Liberators in the late game if you try to play a slow style. So you got to be fast, you got to be furious. And, well, that just means that when you crash, you die instantly.
Yes, indeed. And we see that Polt has gone in the main of Uthermal. He's no barracks, and he knows that he is getting proxied right now. So he's setting up his defense, getting that bunker up, getting his extra barracks up here. He's probably going to make another barracks as well. Because, a bunker, sorry, excuse me.
So this is just brilliant. You know, this wall, Maynard, if he tries to jump up the left side,
he's going to lose everything.
He can't go out. He can't run past this wall. So good luck there. And then Polt's like, all right, and I'm going to build the other barracks on the right side, and then one more supply depot. You can't run by here. So what are your options? Jump up and die. That's pretty much it. The SCVs, this is the one moment where the Reaper can get inside, and now he builds the next depot. This Reaper is trapped. He cannot jump outside the base anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. The wall-off has completed here for Polt, and his Reaper is still alive. In fact, Uthermal's Reaper has less hit points than Polt's Reaper. A second Reaper coming to help out, but he's blocked off from being able to reinforce.
It's a giant wall, Maynard.
He built a wall. He's making Terran great.
He built a wall. He's keeping his opponent's units outside of his base, protecting his workers like a good Terran commander should.
Absolutely, and all of a sudden, Uthermal's aggressive, cheesy opening here has been completely deflected.
What do you do against this?
You don't. That's nothing you do.
That's a great
you float your barracks back home with your tail between your legs and you go, God, how do I come back from here?
Yeah, and that is how you make Uthermal pay for it. This SCV comes in delaying the follow-up factory a little bit. Of course, scouting that factory is still super important because Polt has his own factory on the way. And the oddest thing about this game is that while Polt did build a great big wall, it was not cheap. So Uthermal's actually got his expansion coming up quite a bit faster than Polt.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Polt has a ton of production, so he could be aggressive with that, very potentially. And no second CC for a while here. Uthermal's production is lax, to say the least, because half of it is floating in the sky.
I was going to say, his production's on layaway at the moment. Yeah. It's like, okay.
It's on its way back.
You know, expedited shipping, they didn't tell me it would actually be 12 to 14 days, but there you have it.
Good old FedEx.
Yeah, they need that next day over here in Tour, but oh well. So Polt getting the reactor. I like that he goes for the reactor on the factory because it tells me that with his fast 3 racks and stim, he just wants to play this like a rough Terran versus Protoss opening from Heart of the Swarm. Where he's like, I'm going to 1-base, stim, double medevac, drop you, and try to kill you, which could still work in this game because Uthermal is powering up for mid-game when Polt, he is not doing that at all right now.
No, he's just going to use that superior production of his to make a bunch of units, load them into double medevacs, get in there, and just kill the Dutch Terran. And it's looking likely, but I mean, I've seen miracles in StarCraft before.
Yeah, it is TvT. You know, all it really needs is something as simple as getting a Viking after this medevac and putting it somewhere that it's going to get a couple free shots off before one of the medevacs unload. You kill that, then a couple Hellions defend on the low ground with that Reaper, and all of a sudden, that expansion that he has brings him back into this game and possibly back into this series with a victory. So it's super, super important that he just plays very carefully. These Hellions moving out, if he loses this, he could lose. This is really all he has right now, to be honest.
I like that he's making a Viking back home, though. He's reading that he's very, very naked to drops right now, and the Viking's going to help out a lot. But he got add-ons for his barracks, which further delays his production of Marines. So his Marine count is going to be a fraction of Polt's, and he's heading across the map with 2 full medevacs.
He desperately needs to realize that Polt is on 1 base, because this medevac drop, he's like, I'm going to go harass. And he's going to be like, oh my God, Polt's on 1 base. I don't have anything at home. I need to get everything back as soon as possible. Like, this is an attack that should not do anything with this Marauder here. He needs to lift these Hellions up.
These Hellions need to go home.
Get the hell out of there, Uthermal.
He's being cute with the Hellions here, still dodging and trying to get whatever he can, but in the meantime, 16 Marines going to load into his main.
Marines. Well, he's got nothing to defend, Maynard.
It kind of looks like checkmate. They have stim, they have medevac support, and Uthermal. Stim gets cancelled here, and that's it, I think.
Boom, boom. 16 Marines in your base, in your face. The missile turrets and the Viking were nice, but he said, you didn't even have a front door. And he is killing everything. The SCVs are on the run, but you can't run from the men with the guns.
That's right, and that is it. GG. Polt gets himself a 3-0, and that series was a buffing.
That was